What's up, guys? Tony Hannity's here from LazyTechGuys.com, and welcome to another episode of the LTG Mobile Moments, episode 11, recorded on April 30th, 2015. So today was the second day of the Microsoft Build event, and lo and behold, they still have stuff to talk about. So let's go ahead and dive into a few of those things. Now, during the conversation of Windows 10 being launched in the summer, Joe Belfiore mentioned regarding the Windows Phone that Windows 10 wouldn't be available at the same time. He said, quote, "Our phone's builds have not been as far along as our PC builds. We are adapting the phone experience later than we're adding the PC experiences. So more than likely, we're going to see Windows Phone 10 or Windows Mobile 10 or whatever they call it on phones before the end of the year, which would invariably also push back the launch of any kind of flagship. And hopefully, it will come before the holiday season, because if it comes after that, we're going to have to wait until 2016. Now, the argument would be stated that the better and longer that they wait, the better experience we're going to have with less bugs and things like that. I'm not quite sure how that's all going to roll out, but Joe Belfiore also mentioned that at the initial launch of Windows 10, we're going to see all the features that they've already demonstrated. So case in point, the extensions that I've been also waiting for on Microsoft Edge, the new browser that they announced yesterday, extensions won't be available at launch either. So it's great that it's launching this summer. And as we've said before, it's probably going to be around July. And I have another source internally that it kind of makes sense for a July launch. But we're not going to see a lot of the hoo-ha that we've been seeing, but at least we'll get the base. We'll get Cortana. We'll get Windows 10. We'll get the operating system on many different devices, from big to small, IoT, all of it. Right now, they've even launched a preview IoT core for Arduino and Raspberry Pi. So that's really exciting, and I'm excited to see what kind of innovations that the makers out there would be able to come up with Windows 10 on a small device like that. So I personally, I don't think that they should rush into it when it comes to the rollout. I mean, we already know when they finally roll out the Windows 10 for desktop and laptop, servers are going to be bogged down. There's probably going to be some issues at launch. I mean, it just happens. And I'd rather them focus on those to kind of iron out all of the little quirks that might be associated with the initial launch. And then later on, when they figure those bugs out, launch it on Xbox and launch it on phone. And it will be a lot easier, and we won't have such a big issue on all the Windows platforms, all the Microsoft platforms. And it would at that point, that would hurt Microsoft even more than delaying the launch for some of their other products. So some people would say, well, what's taking you so long? Well, they just want to get it right. Do you want an early launch? Have you seen the technical preview, the insider preview? I think that's what they're calling it now. It's not ready. It's nice. It's really good. I mean, for what it is, but it ain't fixed. Like, it ain't 100%. In case in point, Cortana doesn't work in Microsoft Edge right now. At least not for me. Not 100% of the time. Like, one time it worked. And I'm using this machine on Ethernet. So you can't say it's Wi-Fi. And my Ethernet's pretty freaking fast. So anyways, with that being said, they also introduced, or rather yesterday, they talked more about Microsoft Hello, which is talking about the biometrics that you can use with your fingerprint, your facial, iris, all that stuff. And they demonstrated how quickly it would work when doing facial recognition. My first experience with facial recognition on a mobile device was using Android 4.0 Ice Cream Sandwich. And on the next Galaxy Nexus by Samsung on Verizon, it was a joke. And I mean, it's still not good. The ongoing issue with that is you could pull up a picture of the person and it would unlock the phone. So I think with Microsoft Hello, they would still use facial recognition, but they would also use other methods to make sure that the person that they're using to unlock is alive. So there's that. Plus, the quickness of Microsoft Hello was very impressive. he had the screen covered, rather he had the camera covered of his Windows 10 tablet. And then almost immediately when he uncovered the camera so it would see his face, it immediately unlocked. He didn't even have to do anything. He just had the camera covered. It showed, he pointed it to his face and unlocked. There wasn't any kind of typing or anything like that. So again, I'm impressed with it. Like to see how it works in the real world with real people. But I guess we'll find out later on when Windows 10 finally launches. And another thing they introduced was this API. And I'm not exactly sure what it's called. Oh, Microsoft's Face API. This API was a very interesting demo. What it would allow the Microsoft program to do is when you upload a photo, it should be able to tell which gender the person is within the photo, plus how old they are. And the problem is, again, this is a preview API. It's not finished. It's not completely done. But because it's public, people went hog crap over it. And it was just very, very amusing with the age that Microsoft was guessing for some of the people. So if you're watching this, I'll show you some of the examples that people were sharing. So apparently this person is not 37. These kids are not over 4 years old. They're not even real. This person, well, she's a woman. They got that right. She's not 7. Probably tell you that. And one of the more funnier ones, Steve Ballmer, 89, and couldn't detect any face with Clippy. That's sad. But this one from The Walking Dead, 87 years old as a zombie or a walker or whatever. So when I tested it out, I actually took a photo with my phone, uploaded to OneDrive, and then crossed it over. And it guessed that I was 27. I'm 32, so I was very flattered. And then when my wife took the photo, she used one of her more recent photos from her phone. It thought that she was 22. So, hey, there it was wrong, but it's a flattering guess. So I'm all for it. Hopefully Microsoft will see this, I'm sure what they have, and they'll tweak it and fix it. It's an ambitious API. I don't necessarily think there's an instantaneous use case scenario for it. Maybe in a police situation with surveillance cameras, it would be able to detect everybody that's walking around, guy, girl, 27, 32, 10, 42. And if the police are looking for someone that fits a particular demographic, they would be able to much easily hone in on, hey, that guy's 23, that guy's 25, and that person's 19. So we don't have to deal with the 19-year-old. We just need to really kind of focus on these people. So there's one kind of example that the API could be useful for. But on a personal level, maybe unless you forgot how old you were when a particular picture was taken, but as it is right now, it's probably going to be wrong, but it's still very funny. Also for Microsoft, they announced that the full SDK for the Microsoft Band is now available for developers. Microsoft Band is Microsoft's first iteration of their wearable fitness, or pretty much any wearable, to be honest with you. I mean, at least in the more modern sense of what a wearable is. I have one, or rather I had one. I got the wrong size, so I'm still waiting for medium. And we're using it with an Android device. And although they did upgrade the application to allow for more cycling capability, like cycling tracking capability, your oxygen level tracking, your blood oxygen level while you're sleeping, that's awesome. But that is internal to Microsoft. As a developer, if you have something like a fitness app that counts calories, or something like MyFitnessPal, the folks over at MyFitnessPal, which I guess is now Under Armour, could take advantage of this SDK and merge it with Microsoft Band so that the readout of whatever it is that you're trying to, count out with your steps and everything else, it would be a lot more accurate. So The versions, rather the added support with the API or APK says that you can build apps that support Windows. You can create your own custom layouts for pages on third-party tiles using icons, text, buttons, and barcodes for payment. That's one. Barcodes for payments is really cool because I do that with my Starbucks card. And when I click on the Starbucks app, all I have to do is pull up the barcode and they scan the barcode. You can connect to the band in background tasks, tapping the calorie subscription for Microsoft Band, and much more. One thing that they didn't announce was Cortana support for non-Windows Phone devices. And I think that would have to mean that Cortana would be on iOS and Android. And that would have been something they would have announced yesterday or maybe today, and they still didn't. So although Microsoft have said that Cortana is probably making its way to the other competing platforms, probably not going to make its way anytime soon. But I would love to be proven wrong, because once Cortana does come over, possibly, quite possibly, that would mean that Microsoft Band users would be able to get the full-size keyboard where they can swipe and type in a message, or they can actually speak to the band just like Windows Phone users can. I mean, when we're in a world right now, we're up against Android Wear and Apple Watch, you kind of need those functionalities at least to compete in that space. So in any event, I'm very happy that Microsoft did finally release the full SDK. It's going to be interesting to see if developers even take notice of it. For the most part, everybody I've talked to that has no stake in Microsoft whatsoever and that has tried Microsoft Band have been very happy with it. It's not the greatest looking band. Probably could make it a little bit slimmer. Maybe have some different colors if you just want a purple one to a red one and not just black. But that being said, it really comes down to what they do on the back end of the development. And that is not only up to Microsoft, but it's also up to third-party developers. So we'll see. Now, on the Android side of it, according to a post on the Android developer Google Plus page, there's a new feature for Google Voice Search that has just been announced. Now, I've yet to test it out, so I'll probably do a live test with you guys right now. What this allows you to do is that you can do an OK Google prompt and say a full phrase to not only open up an app, because you can already say open up Facebook and it opens up Facebook, but you can say, you can give Google Now a particular task to do within an app. So for example, you can say, okay, Google, find houses near me on Zillow, assuming you have Zillow installed. Some other examples, okay, Google, listen to NPR, open TuneIn Radio in car mode, activate home mode on Wink. So these are just some examples that have been opened by Google, and I guess they would have to have partners as well too. But for the most part, this is very similar to what Google is doing with their Google Now cards with these 70 other partners. The 70 other partners that they announced on Tuesday don't 100% correlate to what this can do, but it's getting to the point where you are, especially if you have Android Wear, you are going to live in Google Now. If you need to do something, you can just verbally tell your phone to do it, and you wouldn't necessarily have to find the app on your homepage. It would just go right to it. It does depend on the speediness of the initiation of the app and opening it and getting to the page that you're expecting it to go to. But if it's fast, let's just say 2 to 5 seconds fast, that would be very impressive. Now, at launch of all the apps that are listed in this Android Police article, I would probably only use Shazam and maybe TuneIn Radio. But I don't even have TuneIn Radio until, well, I guess it's baseball season, isn't it? So I could use that to listen to the AM stations. In any event, if these do work well, this means other developers are going to take advantage of it, and that means you as the consumer can take advantage of it as well too. We kind of joke about people talking to their wrist or talking to the air, and then their device is doing something, and it kind of looks like they're talking to themselves. But in reality, when you're talking to yourself and it works and it does what you expect it to do and it does it in a timely manner, isn't that convenience worth it? Just to look like a complete weirdo for just 2 seconds? Personally, I think it is, because you'll be the innovator. You'll be the person that people make fun of for maybe a month. And then once they see the benefit on their device, like, oh, this is kind of cool. This is kind of useful. The use case scenarios right now, it is limited, like I mentioned, but the more that they dive deeper into the apps, and the apps allow Google to kind of scrub what's available within those apps, that's going to be a lot better and almost closer to what Cortana is promised to be able to do on Windows 10. And the last thing I want to mention is a pretty big announcement from Tesla today. Now, we've been under the impression that Tesla was going to get into the home battery market due to a number of tweets from Elon Musk, Tesla's founder and CEO. So today they announced two products, the Powerwall, which is for homes, and the Power Pack, which is for larger businesses and has industry applications. So the Power Home, or rather the Powerwall, comes in two versions, one that is 10 kilowatt hours and one that is 7 kilowatt hours. 10 kilowatt hours is $3,500. And the 7 kilowatt hours model is $3,000. Now they come, the size of the unit is about 3 feet by 4 feet, 6 inches thick, and it comes integrated with heat management and can fit either on the inside of the house or the outside of the house. Now you might be wondering, how is this beneficial? Well, just imagine there are two ways that you can use this. Imagine in a situation where maybe you get a lot of brownouts and blackouts. We are coming into the summer season where everyone's using air conditioning. And if a lot of people use air conditioning, that could possibly overpower, the electricity for your whole block, and boom, you have no electricity. But with a backup battery from Tesla, this would allow you to continue to have electricity in a sense that it is stored electricity in this battery. I mean, that's essentially what it is. So there are two ways that you can store electricity in this battery. One, you plug it directly into the wall, and then once it's filled up, it just waits to be used. It's kind of similar to a battery pack for your iPhone. You can turn off you can have a Mophie battery pack for the iPhone. You can have the iPhone plugged in at all times. And there was a point in time that you did need to charge the Mophie. But while the phone is plugged in, you can have the battery pack off and just use the phone battery. Once the phone battery dies, you can turn the Mophie battery on, and then you continue to have power throughout the rest of the day. This is very similar in that, but you don't bring it with you, obviously. According to Musk, the way that the system works is that the system just works. And the idea that you can store the power, whether it's from your standard electrical outlet, or if you want to get power that's stored from solar panels, that would make a lot more sense, because you're not pulling the electricity from the likes of PG&E or MUD or whoever that you have. You're getting it from the sun. Now, Musk will say something like that. He's on the board of Solar City, so he has an invested interest to kind of push everyone to go to solar. But he's not wrong. If you have solar panels, whether it's from Solar City or somebody else, this would be a nice backup for everything else to have with all the stored solar energy. Case in point, the whole event that they had today, I don't know where it was, but the whole event that they had today was actually powered by stored solar energy. Now, the Power Pack, which, as I mentioned, is for larger businesses, they actually described it as, quote, infinitely scalable system. This means that no matter how big or how small your business is, you can power and have a backup battery for your business, for your building, with Power Pack. They didn't go into how much it's going to cost, or at least I can't find that. And I'm sure because it's a business that is all dependent on the business, and they can work out some sort of deal with Tesla should they want to use the power pack within, I don't know, Google or Apple or something like that. But the idea is that it comes in 100 kilowatt hour battery blocks, and it can be scaled all the way up to 10 what is that? It's not kilo. What's megawatts? 10 megawatts or higher? Is that what MWA stands for? I'm going to call megawatts. That's crazy. According to Musk, our goal here is to change the way the world uses energy at an extreme scale. So we power everything with a battery. Why not your house? Why not your business? Why not have that backup battery? We always go to the backup generator, which is usually always diesel. It smells bad. It's loud as hell. And this is another alternative to that. And at least in the home, the power wall isn't huge. It's not humongous. It's not too big. Like I mentioned, it's 3 by 4 feet, 6 inches deep. And you could probably fit that in your closet behind all the coats and everything like that. And you would know if you have a brownout or a blackout, at least your house would be one of the only houses on the block to have electricity for at least another few hours. I wouldn't stream Netflix or anything like that and drain everything, but you would just want to be cautious about that. So that's pretty much it with regard to some of the news that came out. I know the Tesla news isn't mobile related, but I just thought it was very important to touch on because it was a press event that a lot of people have been waiting for ever since Musk mentioned it on, I believe, April 1st. So in any event, that is it from me for right now. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, you can always leave it through our email address, comments@lazytechguys.com. You can hit me up directly at LTG on Twitter or right here on Google plus Tony Hannity's. That's it from me for now. And I'm going to do a review on a really cool car charger that supports Qi wireless charging. So stay tuned for that, and I will talk to you later. Cheers.